cooking in a lake here, as you do.
Hello and welcome to another video. You join me here in Dartmoor today, where I plan on camping on the highest point in Dartmoor, which also happens to be the highest point in the UK south of the Brecon Beacons. High Willhays Tor sits at 621 metres, so it is a genuine mountain, and the weather tonight is set to be fairly wild. The wind speeds are due to hit about 48-49 miles an hour, anywhere from about 4 PM through till 3 AM, so it might not be the best night's sleep I get, but it's certainly going to be a challenge. I've got some plans that I hope will help me out with the weather a little bit. Famous last words, it doesn't look too bad right now, but we'll see how it goes in the night, and I'll see you on the way.
Okay, we're out of the car now, and you can see Meldon Reservoir behind me. You can see the overflow from the dam. I've already seen winds of 26.7 miles an hour, and we're still quite sheltered down here. The rain started as well, so waterproof's on. Got the backpack rain cover on as well, and it's time to get moving. I think the wind's died down just about enough for you to be able to hear me now. It's been a constant 30 mile an hour wind with gusts exceeding 40 miles an hour so far. And I'm pretty sure my head is going to look like a golf ball with all the hailstones I can feel impacting it through my hood. I'm now following a vague path, which is going to take me up to Tor, and then we'll continue on behind to High Willhays. This is a sign you're going to want to take notice of. I'm now entering a danger area. It's a military live firing practice zone. I have checked online and there are no planned live firing exercises today or tomorrow, so I know I'm safe to camp here tonight. But for obvious reasons, it's very important that you check whether or not the army will be firing in the area you plan on camping in. Well, I've made it up here to Tor. As soon as I step out from here, the weather hits us. This spot looks like it could be a nice spot to stick a tent at first glance. Nice flat ground, shelter from the elements. But in fact, we've already got a growing puddle down here. And although I'm sure these rocks have stood here for thousands of years, I can't say I love the angle they're hanging at, so if those things fell on my head, I think I'd have more than a bruise in the morning. Let's try and find somewhere better. Okay, well, I found my spot for tonight. Tor is just over this hill, so I've just come scouting around trying to find somewhere better to stick my tent. I did look over to High Willhays, but it's pretty exposed up there, and these gusts are still over 40 miles an hour, so it's hard enough to stand up, let alone pitch a tent. So I found this little spot here. It's fairly level, this whole section actually, and right where that sheep muck is where I plan on putting my tent. We have some pretty big views actually from here, which you'd expect because we are right on top of Dartmoor now. Tor itself is at 619 metres, so High Willhays is only 2 metres higher at 621. But you can see the rain banding across here, So I'm quite happy just to be in the shadow of Yes Tor, and it's time to put the tent up and get out of this rain. Okay, the tent's up. Pitch isn't too bad. There's a bit of a gap under the door here, but there isn't too much I can do about that. Ideally I would re-pitch and bring it all a little bit this way, but right now I'll just be happy to get out of the weather. Got a delta peg on this guy line down here. But I think we're looking pretty good. Well, I'm glad to be out of that. You can see I am in a little bit of a bog here. But the main thing is the tent's up and we are dry. Okay, well, it's good to be inside the tent. As you can hear, it's still raining pretty hard. It's still fairly windy. I think the wind's backed off a bit. It's maybe down to 15-20 miles an hour now. So I'm getting pretty cold. It was very cold putting the tent up. So I'm going to get myself unpacked, get my sleep mat and my sleeping bag out, get in there, get warm, and get some food going, I think. I've got my sleep system all set up now. I've got my Thermarest Neoair X-Therm and my Rabascent 900. I've worked out why I was so cold, and that's because pretty much all of my clothes were saturated from the walk up here. My trousers completely drenched, both layers, so I had a long sleeve t-shirt and my Rab Cirrus hoodie on. Both of those are soaked through. I had my Montane waterproof over the top, but for some reason everything got completely saturated, which is why I was so cold. So I'm fully dressed, fully changed now in a full set of dry kit. Now I've got my thermals on, I've got some nice dry socks on, and yeah, thermal upper as well as this hoodie, and got my hat on as well just to warm up. I'm not overly happy about the water situation at the moment. I have a small river running through my vestibule. As far as I can tell so far, it's staying outside the bathtub, so my inner tent is still dry at the moment, but it's reminding me a little bit of Bushman and Blue on YouTube a couple of weeks ago. So Al was laughing his head off because he had a river running through his tent, which says a lot about the guy really, because I think if I had a river running through my tent right now, I'd be pretty unhappy. And I'm only about an hour and a half, 2 hours away from my car, whereas Al was way up in the mountains there. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. It's not ideal, but this ground sheet is very waterproof. It should keep out water like that. I will show you now. Actually, I'll spin the camera around. So you can see it's actually running through here. But we'll see how we get on. I'm just about ready to get some food going now, so I'll catch you in a bit. Well, the water situation isn't getting much better, as my stove lid will show. So I'm just having to be a little bit careful with what I put where. because I can't just go putting everything down where I normally would. Even so, we can still make fire. Food is on the go. Just cooking in a lake here as you do. Well, this is an interesting filming angle. I'm basically a head on a pillow. So I've had my dinner now, had burgers and beans, and I've just had a nice hot chocolate pudding as well, which went down an absolute treat. What is also going down is the water level in the vestibule, which I'm pretty happy about. Looks like we're under 1.5 inches now. It was a couple of inches deep earlier. When I move around on my airbed, I actually send waves out across the vestibule, which isn't the ideal situation, but this tent's ground sheet is rated to 10,000mm static head, hydrostatic head, so it should be able to cope with this amount of water logging beneath it, hopefully. If that fails, then I'm on my airbed anyway, so provided I don't let anything drop off the edge of the airbed, e.g. my sleeping bag, then all should be well. The wind is not too bad at the moment. It sounds like it's not really much higher than 30 miles an hour. I can still hear it howling over the rocks behind me. I'm only about 50 meters away from the summit of Tor. This wind is due to die off before midnight, actually, now the forecast is saying. We're still due to see up to about 50 miles an hour, but that's on the summit of Tor, and like I say, I'm quite well tucked away down here, and the tent seems to be dealing with it pretty well. I've got to say I would feel a bit more comfortable in my Hilleberg Solo, just because it's an absolute rock, and also it's got more space, so it can feel a bit more solid. But this tent's doing fine. Don't really have any complaints, I don't think. I can't blame the river on the tent. That's just a result of the torrential rain that's been battering me ever since I got out of the car, basically. I walked from the car to the toilet block, which is about 50 meters from the car, and it started spitting then, and I thought, yeah, it's time for the waterproofs, and then it just unleashed, and it's been chucking it down. It's been hailing as well, and it hasn't really let up, but it sounds like it's maybe a little bit lighter now. Temperatures are not due to dip below about 1 or 2 degrees, and then it's meant to be about -4 with the wind chill. I've certainly been camping much colder, so I'm not too worried about that. So all being well, this will be the last time I speak to you tonight. I'll see you in the morning. Good morning, it's about 7:30. As you can see, the weather is a lot better today. The sun's even partially come out over there, and I've got some lovely blue skies behind me as well. Tent has done very well. As you saw in the night, there was a bit of a water situation, so I'll just show you where that came from now. So it was tracking down this little path here, all the way down and around, and running in the back quarter of the tent there. And as you saw in the video, the vestibule was completely swamped. We had about 1 inch, 2 inches of water in here. Everything was just bobbing around. But as you can see, the tent remained completely bone dry on the inside. My sponge is here just to dry some of my other bits of kit off. I haven't sponged the
the ground sheet this morning. Right at the far end there, I could see that the bathtub actually only comes up about 2 inches, so we weren't all that far away from the water flowing over. I say we weren't that far away, it was about halfway up the bathtub. So if that rain had carried on too much longer and the water level had picked up, I would have had some difficulty there. But it's good to see the sunshine, and I think I've solved the mystery of my saturated clothes as well. I had the armpit vents open on my waterproof jacket, so I think the water must have made its way in through those vents. My Rab hoodie is completely drenched, so yeah, I'm back in my waterproof jacket today. The armpit vents are shut. The jacket itself is still a bit damp, but hopefully it'll dry off now that we have a bit of sun. I can't see too much dark cloud around, so hopefully it'll be a dry walk back down to the car. One thing I didn't show you is that I had noticed on this tent that the red corners all had these yellow peg out loops on them. So the 4 red corners, but the 2 blue ends of the central hoop pole didn't have anywhere to peg out. So I contacted Cotswold Outdoor, who in turn got in touch with Terra Nova, and Terra Nova instantly sent out some loops for me to tie on, which allows me then to anchor this central hoop. Otherwise that was just free to move around. I did pick out a couple of other Southern Cross owners on Instagram, looked at their tents, and sure enough theirs were missing as well, which seems to be a bit of an oversight, but I'm happy that I can now peg them down, and it makes the tent that little bit more stable. Well, I'm all packed up now, and you wouldn't even know that there was a river running through where I camped last night. It's this area here. So I've been careful to leave no trace as ever. This did include about a 150 metre run all the way down through this rock field, through a bog, through a bit of a river, to go and collect a plastic bag that I brought my toothbrush and toothpaste in. The wind just caught the bag. I had weighed it down with my toothpaste, but the wind was strong enough to blow the toothpaste out, and off we went across the moor. But these are the lengths you have to go to make sure you leave no trace. Any little animal, a hedgehog or something, could have climbed in there and got stuck. A horse could eat it and choke on it, you never know. So the idea is just not to leave anything here that wasn't here when you arrived. The sun is coming back out. It's been coming and going through the cloud. But yes, all packed up. I've got my waterproofs on again. I left my trousers out to dry for a little bit in the wind while I was just putting the tent away. I've also treated myself to some fleecy waterproof gloves. These are the Trekmates Chamonix GTX gloves. My hands got pretty cold on the walk here, so I'm just going to keep them warmed up on the walk back. I've got about a 4-mile walk now, and I will go via High Willhays, which is the highest point in Dartmoor, so I'll show you the scenes from up there. I'm now on top of Tor. It's getting hard to stand up now. I'll bring you a bit closer. So Tor stands at 419 metres, and High Willhays Tor is 2 metres taller at 621 metres. It's getting quite hard to stand up now. Quite hard to breathe as well. Tor trig point. Once again, my rain cover has come off.
I'm going to carry on now. I'm going to carry on to High Willhays. As you can see, I've made it back to Meldon Reservoir now. You can hear some Canada geese honking away there, and just in the distance here you can see the dam wall. And there's a footpath that goes all the way around the perimeter of the reservoir, so that's where I'm going now. Well, I hope you enjoyed that quick walk around the reservoir, and I couldn't finish without showing you the overflow itself in full flow. Okay, well, I'm back in the car now. It's good to have the creature comforts back again after a night like that. It was about as wild as forecast, really. The wind speeds were definitely over 40 miles an hour. I measured over 40 miles an hour this morning as well, which was meant to be quite a bit calmer, so I wouldn't be surprised if the winds did hit over 50 last night up on the tops. I was glad that I dropped down away from the summit of Tor and High Willhays. That gave me enough shelter. I'm pretty sure those gusts that were hitting the tent were well over 30 anyway, possibly over 35 miles an hour. So it's a good test of the tent. Obviously I tested the waterproofing of the ground sheet pretty well, so that's a good reason to have a decent hydrostatic head rating on your ground sheet, because you never know. You can try and look for a decent spot. I thought I'd found a good spot. All the ground was boggy because it's Dartmoor and because it was chucking it down. But that spot I was on didn't have any standing water at all. But obviously a couple of hours later I had a river running through the tent. But it stayed outside my inner tent, which is the main thing. So that's all good. I've now got my delicious energy drink, which I was looking forward to so much on the way back. Ah, yes. So it's been a good camp, really. Challenging. I wanted a challenging camp. It's taught me a few things. So a bit of a rookie error with a waterproof jacket, hopefully. Leaving the armpit vents, you know, the underarm vents open. So hopefully that's the reason so much water got in and saturated my clothing.
I had spare clothes, so I was fine. It's good to be prepared with enough clothes for a full change. I even had dry socks and dry trousers this morning, which makes all the difference. Yes, wet shoes, but at least if you have dry socks when you put them on, you're kind of gradually immersed into that wet shoe life once again. Weather today wasn't too bad really. It's I think it was a 5.6 mile walk back to the car in the end. Nice little trip along the West Oakmont River. Back at Meldon Reservoir now. So I hope it's been a good watch. This is my 4th trip out on Dartmoor, I think, having never camped here before until last month. And if my maths is correct, this is my 20th wild camp as a grown-up. So I'm not the most experienced wild camper out there. I'm still learning. I learned more stuff on this trip yet again. I think the first 3 trips were my biggest kind of learning curve moments. But yeah, every camp you learn something new and you just add it on to the experience register really. I don't know where I'm going next. I'd love to go back to Wales. I'm really wanting to go to Snowdonia, but it's a good 5-hour drive, so it takes a bit more planning in. But for now, this is me. Thank you for joining me once again, and thanks to all my subscribers. If you'd like to see more of me, please subscribe. See you on the next one.